we've had issues in the last couple of years, so getting a little bit of a mess now.
Still expanding. I guess it's all a matter of perspective.
Yeah. How will you do with the question?
Pardon me?
You got the question.
Yeah, we heard you're a fast talker too, so I'm getting ready to pencil with this.
I'm not a fast talker. Anyway, so I'm Brian, and I'm with BJS. So one of many operators looking after the buildings here at State. So basically is I'm going to go over the HVAC system, just to give you a general idea of how it works in the building. And if you already know how it works in the building, well, I'm sorry, you just have to listen. Okay. So anyway, so it basically is, as an operator, even though it's a mechanical room, we're looking after the equipment, we're actually also looking after the occupants of the building as well. Because what we're doing is applying heat and cooling for them to keep them comfortable. So that's what the basically is our job. Okay? I mean, we just, go to the mechanical room, make sure the maintenance and everything is running, and do any odd jobs that need to be done here and there. So how does the HVAC work? Obviously, when the occupants are in the building, the first thing they're going to go to is whether they're going to be too cold or too hot. Just go to your thermostat. So we have a thermostat in every room, typically. And that thermostat is an electronic thermostat because we've got the nice automation in the equipment here. It's not pneumatic, so we're not sending air. We have electronic signal. So, from the food pack, we have what we call a VAV box, which you see up in the ductwork here. That VAV box is then controlling the amount of airflow going into the space. So, take a simple 20 by 20 room. You heat that room up, usually it's like 400 liters per second. To cool that same room is 600 liters per second. So it obviously means is it takes a little bit more to cool a room than it is to heat a room. Also, you got to remember when people are in their rooms, we got computers, we got lights, we got the body that gives out heat, so everything is heating up that room. We're just giving it a little bit more heat to make it comfortable for them. But in order to cool that room, it takes a little bit more air to do that. So, in the middle of that VAV box, you can just see on the bottom there is an actual rod. The rod is inside where there's a damper that goes up and down. So it would just modulate based on how the temperature is in the room, and that's how much air is getting supplied into the room. Everything is pre-programmed so that when the guys are building these buildings, they would go to the room and say, okay, this is what's in this room, or it's just a classroom, or we need this amount of liters per second, and that's all we take. I mean, so do I know what it is? No. I mean, there's thousands of rooms here. I'm not going to memorize every one of them. So we hopefully that the engineers or the guys who are putting it all together when they built the building know what they're doing. Okay? And yes, sometimes over years you will get one of those guys come back and have to redo the specs of the room because maybe something was renovated in that room, so you'll come in and rebalance the room. So I mean, it's just not what's done. Anyway. Over, I should say over here, so I guess the other thing I should mention is this is pretty much one of the mechanical rooms you typically see in the building. So I mean you've got a heat exchanger, some pumps. The only difference is there's no boiler here, right? So because we have a power plant, boiler is what's giving us the heat, which is making steam. That doesn't mean every building you're going to go to is steam operated. A lot of them are just hot water operated, right? So this one is steam. So we actually do get the steam coming into this, and it actually does all the buildings around the whole entire campus. Okay, so we actually have a tunnel underneath there that supplies all the steam and air and gas and water and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So this heat exchanger here is what we call a reheat exchanger. And now that reheat exchanger is supplying what we call a reheat system. This is typically is what you would see in ductwork. So this ductwork is obviously you would see right about here. Okay. Now this is for more so like classrooms and offices and that kind of stuff because this is a mechanical room. We're always trying to cool this room down, so we never have to worry about putting a heat coil in this. So, saying that, so you got ductwork going this way, coming from the air handling unit. Going out that way, which is then coming out of those diffusers that you see there. You would actually have a little control valve that will be sitting right here, which is also programmed from this disc to this, which then if you find the room is too cold, We're going to send the signal to this actuator. The actuator will open up. Hot water will then go through. So I've got 16 degrees of air going through this coil and then coming out about 27, 25 degrees, depending on how much water flow I've actually got going through it. And this actuator will modulate up and down all the time, trying to keep the room nice and comfortable. So it's to the point where it's so cold outside that it just opens to 100%, or it's too hot outside when it's just close to 100%. Okay?
That valve would be like a DDC valve?
Sorry?
The valve would be like a DDC valve?
Yeah.
For the water flow?
Yeah. It controls the amount of water flow going through it. Yeah. So these are throughout all the classrooms and offices that we have in the building. And basically, as we kind of say, this heat exchanger is a reheat exchanger, which we call the inside loop, because it just basically goes to the offices, the classroom, and comes back here and gets reheated, supply more hot water to the system. So I'm saying hot water is obviously, that means that water never sees outdoor air. But we have air handling units that just see outdoor air, so that's why we have the glycol system. So on the very far side of the air handling, the mechanical room there is another heat exchanger, which is done by glycol. That glycol sees the air handling unit, same thing, inside loop, just goes to the air handling unit, comes back here and gets reheated, and then goes back up to the air handling unit when it's needed. So, can I use glycol on the reheat system? Yes, I can. Doesn't matter if I mix it. On the reheat system, no. On the glycol system, yes, possibly, because afterwards you put too much water in it, you're breaking down the quality of the glycol to where it'll only freeze to a certain point. So because we're getting down to minus 40, we need to make sure the glycol is good to minus 48. So there is testing we do every month, making sure that all this stuff is getting done. So I'm going to go over here and I'll go through it all. So, as you can see, thing there is like water. Up the top, at the back there, you can't really see it, but there's a pneumatic control valve up there that's controlling the steam that we're supplying into this heat exchanger right here. This pump is then supplying the water throughout the entire building, brings it back in and keeps it warm. So we have two things to keep an eye on. One is obviously the pressure. We can make sure the pressure is up to par. So we come in every day, look at the pressure. Pressure can be anywhere from 50 to 60, just based on how big your building is. Kind of the rule of thumb is, depends on how big your building is. It's 7 to 10 psi per floor, which is 5 floors, so we got about 50 psi. But this is a very big building. So I'm doing a whole entire San Brad, Heritage Hall, and Snowbell. So I have to get out of the 60s and try and get every nook and cranny. And that's the other thing you might want to keep an eye out. If you're in a big building and you just got the one pump and you realize, well, it's only 4 floors, I got 40 psi, but somebody in the very, very far corner of that building is saying I'm full. Well, maybe the water's not getting to that very far end, and it could be airlocked. And sometimes you need to make sure there's an air reliever at the far end of that to release the air out so you get the water flowing. And it does happen here every once in a while. So it's not too often, but it does happen. Now I gotta go to the very good floor, the Heritage Hall, and release some air out of it so I get the hot water flowing in there. And it's usually, once you've done it a couple times, it's pretty good for the winter. So, like I said, this is water, so we have to chemically treat this stuff. This is what we call core shield. There are different types of core shield out there. It just depends on the manufacturer who's making it. They put their own patented number on the core shield. The company that we use is called Suez, and it's ND4102. But there are other companies out there that make the same stuff, but they say 8738 or something like that. But we just use Suez and we use the ND. So ND4102. So every month we grab a sample. We would test that the core shield is up to par, which is anywhere from 100 to 150 psi. 100 to 150 parts per million. Okay? As long as it stays within that range, we know the core shield is good. So if 1 month you decide, okay, I'm going to take a sample, you get it tested, and they said, oh, it's down to 73 parts per million. Then you're going to go, well, how did that happen? Chances are you've had a leak in the building. Okay? The pressure's gone down, you notice that, oh, we're still at 50 psi, but you have a regulator that's tied into the city hot cold water that automatically fills the system up. to keep it at 50 psi. Okay? The only reason you would know there's a leak is because the costing on the torch shield has gone down. Okay? So we hope, and no, we're not going to go looking for it because this is a big building. It could be anywhere. But we hope that the occupants of the building would actually call it in and say, hey, I got a wet ceiling tile. You go look at it and say, yeah, it's a pipe leak. You got a plumber in, get it fixed. You put the torch shield back in the system, goes back up to 100. Check it the next month, still at 100. You know you fixed the leak. Okay? It's the same with the glycol system. Now the glycol system is a little different. It's already pre-treated, so we never have to really test that often. But once a year, we do need to test it to make sure it's good for money. Okay? But in the far end, you can see there's a little white barrel container there that is full of glycol. If for whatever reason that glycol actually goes down, that means you got a leak in your coils. Okay? I mean, it doesn't happen often. I mean, we've had leaks here. I'm not going to say it doesn't. I mean, this building is now 20 years old, and we've had 2 leaks in this building. So this is not too bad. Okay? I mean, yes, there's leaks in the building, but it's not like it's every day. It's like every once in a while you get a leak. Right? Alright, the other thing is a microfilter. It just sits right in here. It's like a round tube. And let's see if I can see in here around here and kind of show you. Anyways, it's just a white tube thing that sits in there. We call it microfilters. Basically is to keep because these pipes, the water is circulating over time, it wears them down. Because you're rushing that water throughout the whole system, it does break down. I mean, these pipes are good for 15, 20, 30 years, but it does eventually wear those pipes down. Anyways, microfilters. If you were to be lucky and you're going into a brand spanking new building that's just built, expect to do this almost on a daily basis. Okay? Because when you put these pipes together, it is welded, it is soldered, it is done everything to you possibly can. They say they flush them, but they can't get everything out. So it takes a little while to flush the whole system. So over time, it will eventually slow down when you're doing it once a week, to once a month, to the point where every 6 months, just change them automatically. Okay? And it does. I mean, you have indications on here, like we have a little sight glass. You can see by looking in it, it's nice and clean. But eventually it's also got a little plate where actually the plate will actually move over once this stuff is plugged up to the point where it's right up full and you have the tank. Same with the glycol system. You can see that it's got the sight glass and does the same thing. You might be good at even change every once in a while. Okay. In the far back, we have the 3 red tanks. Obviously we have the expansion tanks. The expansion tank because we're heating and cooling up the liquid, so you need the expansion tank to expand and contract as the liquid is being heated and cooled down. So the 2 smaller ones are for my reheat system, and the taller one in the back there is for the glycol system. Okay, so as you can see on above the expansion tank, you can see the pressure release valve. There's 3 of them there. There's actually 4 of them. There's another one up a little bit higher up. For whatever reason, if one of those was really off, you can see if you follow the pipes, it actually goes to this range. So the maximum on the pressure release valve is 125 psi. Okay, so we got this system around 50 to 60, so you got quite a bit of friction before one of those pressure release valves is ever to go off. And it's the same with the glycol system. The glycol system also has 125 psi pressure release valve. We will only keep the system on the glycol at 20 because it only goes to the air handling unit and back down again. It's not really going anywhere in the building, so it just goes to the 4th floor, straight back down here. So we don't need to keep as much pressure in that system as we need. So that's the same thing, like I said before, and that's with the glycol, I mean, if the pressure release valve was to go off, it actually is supposed to go into that white bucket I just pointed out earlier. But I'm thinking, well, there's thousands of gallons of glycol in the system, and that's probably a 25-gallon bucket. Yeah. So it's more there for if there's a leak in the system. But like I said before, though, that's 125. We only keep it at 20. So if you're coming in here every day, looking at the pressure, going, okay, we're good. Chances are these pressure relief valves going off. I've been here 20 years. I've seen one pressure relief valve go off, and I was actually on a steam line. So there's never one of these. Okay, little thing I just want to quickly mention out is, as you can see, we have 3 pumps on this side. The middle pump is actually the standby pump. So one of these pumps on the other side would break down, then the standby pump to take over. Okay, so that shows me right there that the glycol and the water can actually go into both systems. So you just got to make sure that when you're isolating your valves, that you don't get too much water into the glycol side. Okay. Then we have another pump over here on the other side. That's our chill water pump. But as you will see yesterday, you saw the chillers that we were working on getting them cleaned up for next year, actually this year. That's supplying the chill water for the air handling units here as well. So, but that is what we call the outside loop, because it goes up the air handling unit, goes back to the power plant, and then necessarily comes back here. If you go into the tunnels and go to another building. So, glycol, preheat inside, chill water outside. The other thing I just like to kind of point out over there and behind the cage is, like you can see, there's a couple of pumps there, and then there's a barrel there. That's also a glycol system. That's our refrigeration for our server room. So that one needs to be done. That's being used year round to keep the server room nice and cool. So as you can see, glycol is being used for cooling and is also being used for heating. So you can use it both ways. I just like to point that out. That's all. Okay. Over on the spar side, against the wall, there's 2 more heat exchangers there. That's your domestic hot water, so we've got to supply hot water for the bathrooms and kitchen. So the same thing is steam heated, and it's just a shell and tube type system, the same as these heat exchangers. So then the steam goes steam. The only difference is we have an actuator that controls this steam. We just have regulators to control the nose steam. You can see on the bottom of them, there's like 3 different regulators. Based on how much demand is being asked, each regulator will open up. As the demand gets less, each regulator will close. Okay? We actually do have one that's broken right now. You can see it's on the valve. So, alright, I'm done. Okay, there are some plates on the side of the exchangers. There are some certificates on the wall. There's some plates on the expansion tank. And that's for some of the questions that you need. So you've got about 5 to 10 minutes to go running around and look at them all. Okay? Got any questions? Ask them.